Possession crucial from this. How much longer will the referee allow? Dublin lead by a point, and there's the whistle. It's over. It's over.
Well, hello there, and welcome to the RTÉ GAA Podcast, Week 3 of the Allianz Hurling League. Done and dusted, and plenty to reflect on in the company of Rory O'Neill here in studio and Shane McGrath joining us on the line as well. Lads, how are things? Another decent weekend, Rory?
I think it was. I think, I know some people were maybe complaining about some of the quality of some of the games, but it's the first week of February. We're in the middle of one of the worst winters in terms of rain that we've had for many years. I even saw some people maybe querying or questioning what we saw in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, for instance, on Saturday night. We had yellow cards, red cards, black cards, penalty saves.
A melee,
huge crowd, reasonably good atmosphere, and a great result. I'm only joking, Shane. But I don't really know, all jokes aside, I don't really know what it is that people would want from hurling at this time of the year other than what we got over the weekend just gone.
Yeah. Shane, what did you make of Saturday night?
I thought it was a good enough first half. But really the second half, it just had a real league feel to it. I won't say challenge match feel because it was still, it was good pace and good hurling in it. But it did have kind of a league feel to it. Whether that was as a result of the sendings off, probably was. And to be honest, the way the game was going, I thought Shane Barrett was probably a bigger loss to Cork than maybe what J.O. might have been on the night. Not to say overall in terms of contributions, but Shane Barrett was motoring well. He was asking a lot of questions of our half back line, and it was just misfortunate. Obviously we know it's been well documented now that it was adding to the melee or whatever you want to call it. The boys got sent off for it. It was harsh on him, but I suppose that was the message, or that was the case that the ref had to make to try and get back control of the game, and he felt by sending off the two boys this was the right thing to do. Everyone goes in. There's no extra time added really to the first half, when it probably should have been a few minutes, at least. But that was just the nature of it. And looking back on it, it's hard to see how it all started. It seems to be that there was a tangle between Alan Connolly and Willie Connors. Now I don't know Alan Connolly, but I know Willie Connors fairly well, and he's definitely a good lad to fight his way out of a corner if needed. Maybe Alan Connolly's the same, but they seemed to kind of, just get on with it, and they were happy enough with the Eagles. The Reds, when you look back on it, it is the rule, I suppose, is, you're kind of say next man in or adding to it, but they were harsh Reds. Overall, how did I find the quality of hurling, Cathal? It wasn't a bad game, some good scores. If I was just to single out a few performers now who it was a big night for them, I thought Cathal O'Reilly and William Buckley had a great battle. William Buckley scored 3 points from play, but you just can't play against Cork with a man down. And when Johnny Ryan got the black card, the quality of ball that they're able to give in, and we seen it firsthand last year in the championship game as well. When they have a bit of time to get the head up and look, no matter what you have or don't have back, it's very hard to defend the Cathal. So I thought Cathal O'Reilly, William Buckley had a great battle. I thought Willie Connors was exceptional for Tip in midfield. He dropped back into the pocket when, while Johnny Ryan was off the black card, swept up a lot of ball and just calmed the whole thing down. Thought he was brilliant for Tip. I thought Owen Downey had a brilliant game, wing back, and maybe that's his place. 2 points from play. Josh Keller had a hard night on him. It was Josh's first big start for Tip. Alan Connolly, 8 points, 4 frees, 4 from play. He had a tough day now in the All-Ireland final last year, and I'm sure that was in his mind, Carl. He wanted to perform. But there's one guy, I suppose, that kind of stood out for me, and he's just been so consistent for Cork, and that's their captain. Sometimes the captaincy doesn't suit lads. Doesn't seem to be doing Darragh Fitzgibbon any harm whatsoever. He's going out hurling. I think he's got that freedom in the half-forward line, Rory, to go and express himself. And I think on his day, no more so than Cathal Mullaney is, or Cian Lynch is, this guy has potential to be hurler of the year every year. And just a quick funny story with Darragh Fitz. We went down and played Charleville a challenge match with the club. Probably 10 years ago now. I was finished inter-county hurling, just finished, and Darragh was really coming onto the scenes. I'd say after he scored about maybe the 10th or 11th point off me, I just said, I can't handle this anymore. I tried to hit him a flake, but he was actually so fast, I missed him. and I just looked like an idiot altogether, just swiping fresh air. So I don't, as I said, that's my memory. My one and only time marking Darragh Fitz. I did get the joy, Rory, of marking Cathal Mullaney a couple of times, and by Jesus,
another speedster.
I couldn't keep it into him either. And I think Darragh Fitz is probably faster. So yeah, look, that's my take on it, lads. Our tip devastated, no, far from it. Our Cork nailed on favour Finley McCarthy. No, but we knew that beforehand. And it was what it was, 2 points, and I think both teams move on. I think Cork now, Rory, have 3 weeks off, don't they?
3 weeks off, no match till March.
They get a nice break now to try out a few things maybe in training. So, yeah, that was my take on it, lads, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, the melee, the skirmish, whatever you want to call it, was probably the key talking point, probably the thing that kind of affected the second half most as well, because it did seem like the sting was taken out of things a little bit. What did you make of it all? Yeah,
when you reduce the top class inter-county hurling match down to 28 players on the field, it becomes very loose. And I think, look, I don't think that, considering both teams and both teams' abilities to use the ball, it just had a kind of a false feel to it in that second half. It was an unfortunate thing. I would absolutely echo what Donal Óg said on the TV on Saturday night. I know there can be some criticism of officials, but I think the players do actually have to hold an element of responsibility here. To me, it was all a bit silly and stupid. Like, nothing really happened. It was largely because you can't throw a dig or a flake anymore anyway, because you know you're going to be picked out then straight away. And obviously Liam Gordon, a hat-trick for Liam Gordon in terms of sending Cork fellas off. So that's Shane Barrett by 2, and Owen Downey, as we know, in last year's All-Ireland final. So he's flying on that in that regard. But I think it was a Colm Coyle, Liam McHale situation in relation to, okay, I have to pick 2 out here just to calm it down. Could he have potentially just blown the whistle for half time, called the 2 managers and 2 captains aside in the tunnels, because they're separate tunnels? You wouldn't have. That's the one thing. Fair play to Frank Murphy, which was one of the things he insisted upon when the design of Páirc Uí Chaoimh was made initially, is that each team would have their own tunnel, and you could have just called them aside and said, look, we need to calm it down. But I think it's a hefty one for Shane Barrett, because my understanding, Shane, is that because a second sending off within a 12-month period could result in a more severe suspension than what it would have ordinarily have been. So I would imagine
sorry,
Shane.
He mightn't hurl now for 5 weeks.
Yeah.
That's a lot, like.
Yeah.
I know he can be training away and everything, but if he doesn't hurl for 5 weeks, okay, and that takes you up to
the end of the league,
last round of the league, you're a few weeks off championship. It's a fair old punishment for him now, not to be doing any inter-county hurling if it is upheld that he gets a 2-match suspension. So I was only thinking about that there this morning, like going, geez, if I was told I can't hurl a competitive game 5 weeks, because A versus B is great, lads. Don't get me wrong. But there is nothing to compare to going out playing a competitive game like so.
The funny thing is, though, the funny thing is, Shane, what they may end up doing is they may end up challenging it on the basis that he was not the third man in, and they might say, well, look, it was actually player X who was the third man in, so can you suspend him instead? You know, but it's just I don't know. I think, in an overall context, I think both teams would have gotten quite a lot out of the game. I was impressed. I didn't know a huge amount about Cathal O'Reilly. I thought he coped admirably. He's a new player from a Tipperary perspective. I didn't genuinely think Willie Connors had the kind of hurling that I saw. I mean, a couple of points he got were outstanding. We always knew that Willie is a grafter, and he will go in and he's got that sort of ability to be a destructive force. I didn't really know he could be a constructive force as well. So he showed a side of his game on Saturday night that I thought was certainly a new one for me. I think Liam Cahill will be reasonably happy coming out. Good test from their point of view, and I think Ben will be happy enough. I think largely, what are you trying to do in a league campaign? You're probably trying to establish some principles of play in terms of what it is that you want your team to do. You're then also trying to get a bit of momentum with a couple of wins, and then you're also trying to unearth 1 or 2 players for maybe problem positions that you might have. And I'd say from Ben's point of view and from Cork management's point of view, Darragh O'Leary, I think, is certainly one that's put his hand up now. He's coped quite admirably in what has been a problem position. Shane mentioned Owen Downey. He was my man of the match, because a number of things. Obviously, he was outstanding on the day, but I think people sometimes tend to forget he's a young guy. He was sent off in an All-Ireland final wrongly, in my view. For him to play the way he played, to now, I think, nail down that starting position at wing back next to the Bro, I think is a big fill-up. And I think William Buckley potentially has put his hand up. So it's created a good level of competition. And I think, look, from both teams' perspectives, it won't be the first. It's not the first, and it won't be the last meeting between the two. And I'm going to make a prediction here, and I'll be glad of Shane's view on this. If you moved that Cork-Tipperary April 19th clash to Croke Park, it would fill Croke Park.
Shane?
Big call. You could with Cork alone, I'd say, Rory. You see that firsthand, the scrambles trying to get tickets to All-Ireland hurling final.
Well, Shane, sorry, I should put it into context. There was well over 30,000 at a league game in February. Thurles, as we now know, only holds 40, right? So you are not going to be able to fit all of the people that will want to see this game on April 19th. And what a stage! What a stage! What a way to start the Munster Championship! What a way to offer an opportunity for as many people as possible. What a way to make money, because we know the bean counters have a huge say in the world of GAA these days. I don't think the Tipperary management will have a huge problem with going up there. I'd be absolutely certain Cork would feel likewise. Like, look, I don't know. Maybe I'm talking rubbish.
I don't think
you can't take it. You can't take it out of Thurles. No.
And you know I love Thurles now.
Cork love Thurles. Cork love Thurles more, if not more, than most teams. But sure, it's big ass. If we could move it to the new camp or something, we make a weekend of it all together. That'd be the right job. Thank you all for that. But the other thing I would say is you're going to have to stop booing our players, Rory. It's very unsportsmanlike.
Yeah. That was wrong.
We're very aggrieved by it.
Do you know what? Right, I do think free takers in general do take too long. I do and it's not. Listen, this is not on Darragh McCarthy. It takes 20 seconds to take a free. They're all pretty much the same. They would all have their routine. They will all, stand over the ball. A lot of the time, it is about heart rate. It is about cooling yourself down. It is about making sure that, you're as calm as possible for when you basically make the strike. So they're going to be trained and taught and coached to say, look, take that extra few seconds. Just make sure your heart rate is nice and low and that you're nice and cool when you hit that ball. Is this a timekeeping issue? I mean, we see it in football with footballers coming up like Stephen Cluxton waltzing up to take frees. We see it all the time with Rob Henley and Niall Morgan and all of those guys. That's all time wasting as well. It's a timekeeping thing. I think, is there a way that can be tidied up? But I think the Cork supporters now would want to have a good hard long look at themselves now about booing stuff like that, because I thought it was a bit juvenile, to be honest.
I think Liam Cahill handled it well. I think that stuff, it goes on. So the tip supporters do it. All the supporters do it. It's just it was funny to hear it so loud and so clear the other night from one player in particular, but it didn't seem to bother him anyway. He kept knocking him over the bar. So we're fine. Can I just say one thing, lads? And I know this might sound ridiculous. In a way, I hope in a way Tip and Cork are in the league final this year.
Yeah, I would agree.
It'll only be 2 weeks out from the championship. Yeah. And I just hope that the next time they meet is Munster Championship. I think there's a nice rivalry brewing there. I think there's a nice...
There is, isn't there?
I won't say hate, but there's a nice kind of, we'll do what it takes on the field now to win this.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be totally surprised if there was a red card in the Munster Championship game. So...
Well, if Liam Gordon is reffing, there probably will.
But in fairness to Liam Gordon, what was he supposed to do to deal with that kind of melee before half-time? What way would you go about it? I mean...
Would you not be for the screen for that? No, for the
video, TV monitor.
The TV monitor, just run over, have a quick look, see who came in, see who did it, and come back. But I know people say we're slowing down the game even more now, but so we're giving out about let's taking frees and we're giving about this, but I'm just thinking if it was something that was there, I'd personally be for it. That he could go over and have a look, to say, right, this is what happened, this is who actually come in, this is what he actually did. Is that a red or not? and then he can make that call himself based on actual video evidence and pictures rather than, well, I think what happened now was he came in and I think he hit him. So that's where I would be for the video in those kind of scenarios.
Yeah.
Could you reduce it? I mean, I don't know. But then again, it was very harsh. Is there an opportunity? Firstly, these types of schmozzles and sort of unseemly type things, they're not as prevalent as maybe they used to be. So they don't happen that often anyway. But could you potentially look, instead of it being a red, maybe reduce it to a black card offence? I don't know.
Do you send out a wrong message if you don't send someone off in that scenario where you're saying, is this acceptable? We're just going to dish out a yellow card with 30 players involved in a melee, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, it's a fair point.
I guarantee you, if we were here and nobody was sent off, we might be talking about a different point where why wasn't somebody sent off to kind of lay down the law? Is that the other alternative point, to play devil's advocate?
I don't know. I didn't actually look. I only saw obviously what everybody else saw on the TV. I didn't really see a whole pile going on that you were going. And by the way, that's out of order or that's red card material.
Yeah. Would the TV picture, Shane, have been that helpful in that scenario on Saturday night?
That's true, yeah.
I think they would for the sending offs. Like, you can only kind of see the top right-hand corner of the picture, Alan Connolly, Willie Connor's going to ground. Now, unless there's another camera that could be that a different view, different angle coming in at that, to kind of clarify that. But I do think it definitely would have helped. It would have helped clarify a few things rather than, it's hard to see everything. Okay,
it's impossible to see everything, isn't it? It's impossible.
Like, we can be here giving out all we want, but unless we actually go away and do the referee course, we're not really in a position to make the call. We're just going on what we've seen, and that's why I think it'd be great to have that technological help there if it was available and if it was a thing that could be used anyway.
And the point is being made as well about assessors in the stands and stuff like that. Obviously, the referees are being assessed as well as everybody else, so their performance is being looked at too by officials too. Why don't we hear from Ben O'Connor now? This is an excerpt of his interview with television there on Saturday night.
What other county aren't on the edge? Everyone's on the edge, Shane. So yes, we're saying play on the edge because everyone's on the edge. That's the way the game's supposed to be played. And just to go back to my comments last week, referees are under too much pressure. Red cards, yellow cards, technical areas. They're under too much pressure. Let him go away and referee the match the way they see it and not be an assessor on the stand, put him under pressure then after, you didn't tick this box, you didn't tick that box. That's all I'm saying. That's what every GA person in the country wants. Good, hard, physical game. Micro saving lives and eyes all over the country with helmets. We're supposed to be playing the fastest field game in the world. If I'm running at you at full belt and you come at me, small, slight little turn and flick in the head, fellas roaring for red cards and yellow cards, that's what the helmets are for. No fellas getting belt down the head deliberately. All we're looking for is the game to be let flow.
Yeah, that's Ben O'Connor speaking to Shane Dawson after the game on Saturday night. His interviews have been very forthright so far, Ben O'Connor. What do you make of those comments?
Well, he's consistent in what he has been saying from the very get-go. I think, though, this, I suppose, narrative now is starting to creep out. I think what's extraordinary for me is in the space of, I suppose, about 6 months, Cork have gone from a team that was too soft to now all of a sudden being a dirty team. And you have Ben, obviously, coming out saying how he believes that hurling should be adjudicated, refereed, etc. Look, I don't necessarily think that it's I think the first thing is he probably does need to, I would say, rein it in now. I think he.
No, please, no.
Yeah. If I was the PR person working behind the scenes with Cork, I'd probably be advising him now to say, look, you've said your piece now twice on this.
But he's been consistent. He's been consistent.
But he said it now. He said it twice at this stage. He doesn't need to keep saying it. I think he probably, that's his tuppence worked on that. And in fairness to him, he long before he became the manager of the Cork Senior Hurling team, Ben would have been consistent in this mindset. But I don't necessarily think you'll ever get an unfiltered version. or you'll ever get a
Yeah, but you know
filtered
what,
version
Rory?
of him.
You know what?
He
On
will
that,
always
Rory,
be
I suppose-
honest, and he'll always be forthright, and he will always be sincere in his views, and he will always answer questions honestly. And I think that's something to be applauded. There's not that many managers that do
Absolutely,
that.
that's exactly
And
what
I think,
everyone wants.
But,
yeah.
but I think in terms of
That's
this,
it, lads. Like,
Yeah,
that's it.
yeah.
We can't keep talking as the media saying we want better interviews, and then when we get the better interviews, like, you know, we're probably over scrutinizing them, and we're kind of nearly turning off people from being honest in interviews. So
Yeah.
I think I love Ben O'Connor.
Yeah.
I loved him as a player. I think he's a great manager. He speaks with a lot of passion. I don't know him personally. I'm only knowing what he's like, what he feels about the game. I love his interviews. I love the way Liam Cahill speaks. I love the way even John Kiley was very honest there. He didn't maybe say as much as Ben did, but he was still very honest in his post-match interviews. So I think, you know, let these guys speak their minds, and maybe we need to, you know, rein it back in the way we're over scrutinizing their interviews as well, just so that we can get more of these interviews throughout the year. That's I don't know. That's what I think on it. Anyway.
And I don't necessarily think the public on a local level and at a much more sort of insular level will be all that worried as long as the team is performing. And look, the one aspect as well, and again, I know we should move on from Cork Tip now, but one aspect that I thought was very noticeable from both teams the other night was the lack of goal chances, Shane. And there would seem to be a noticeable shift, particularly from a Cork perspective, not too worried, I would say, about maybe creating the type of goal rush that we saw when Pat Ryan was in charge. I think the half-back line are sitting that little bit deeper to afford the full-back line a bit more protection, which I think is helping the likes of Darragh O'Leary settle into the role at full-back. But Tipperary likewise. I didn't see too many times that Patrick Collins or Reece Shelley had to make a save other than the penalty. And the game was largely played from distance shooters.
They really have two full forward lines, Rory. Like, was there really ever three inside the full forward line?
Correct. Yeah.
Last year. So I think there will be more goal chances created, but I just think the way both teams set up the other day, it was kind of a, you know, we'll go at this. We don't want to show too much, you know, like Tip didn't play out and out sweeper from the start, like, or I didn't see too many times if you looked up that the three full forward line were actually sitting deep inside that 45, which you've accustomed to play, no more so than ourselves in the All-Ireland final last year. So, I'd say the way they set up, Rory, might allow for maybe more goal chances as the year goes on. Like,
yeah, just on the Cork defence, we did have a question in from Tig on social media about the setup of the Cork defence when Mr. Joyce comes back into the reckoning. Might Downey come under pressure at 6 then, do you think, or where does Joyce fit back in?
It's a very, very good question. Whoever posted it was, what did you say? Tig, is it?
Tig, yeah.
Yeah, well, that is a good question from Tig. Kieran. Christopher was a former player, but Kieran was, he was on the subs bench the other night. Could you have taken Owen Downey off to allow him go in? There's no way he's taking Rob off because Rob Downey will be 6 no matter what. Is there a position available maybe in the corner? I don't know, but it is definitely
midfield, Rory.
I have a sneaky suspicion that the Cork midfield that will eventually take the field against Tipperary on the 19th. I think the two of them started on the bench on Saturday night, and I don't think Ben wanted to show that to Liam Cahill. I wouldn't be surprised if he's his mind made up on Tim O'Mahony and Tommy O'Connell, and just in terms of the kind of balance that you'll get from having both of them in there. So I don't know if there's a position there either. So it's a
great
either
position
way,
to be in.
it's a great problem for Ben O'Connor and the management. But it'll make for very interesting A's versus B's over the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, it absolutely will. So that's Cork Tip, and as you said, that fixture has been fixed for Semple Stadium.
So far, as
on
we know.
the 19th of April, but we look forward to that. It's a 4:00 throw-in in the first round of the Munster Championship. Let's move on, lads, then to Limerick Kilkenny. Limerick 126, Kilkenny 216. Pretty good game at the Gaelic grounds yesterday. Limerick eventually pulled clear. Aaron Gillane with a great goal, Shane, towards the end. Peter Casey was quite sharp up front as well. What did you make of their performance, obviously off the back of that defeat to Waterford the week before?
It was miles between the performance between the Waterford game and the Kilkenny game, and themselves as players would know that. I don't think John or Paul or any of the Limerick management would have to say too much to them. They knew that it was it was just a very poor performance against Watford, and they just brought the fight that we normally see with them, their swarm tackle, their ability to work the ball out of triangles, to do the right thing with the ball. More often than not, the guy in the best position took the shot the other day, and it was just a real back at home, really good performance for them. Few things that I would have noticed, like say the number 6 question is up for debate on Limerick, no more so than it is for Kilkenny as well. But I thought Will O'Donoghue was exceptional at number 6. I think midfield, what could they do there? Maybe Adam English would be a starter for me. Do you start him with Darragh O'Donovan? Do you start him with Keane Lynch? Do you start him potentially with, I'm not really sure who else, other options, David Reedy maybe, but I think Will O'Donoghue at 6 is a great option.
Can I ask you a question on that though, Shane? Like, and I agree. I think William O'Donoghue is an outstanding sitting 6, but obviously Owen Cody then ended up scoring 1-6. Now Owen Cody, as we know, will drift and he will ghost and he will move all over the place. I don't necessarily see a centre back in the mould of William O'Donoghue chasing him around the field. So, and both of these things can be correct in that your centre back can have had a good game, while the opposition centre forward could have actually been the scorer in chief. But how do the Limerick management get the balance right there?
I think the balance there is what Declan Hannon did, right? And like say, as the song goes, you don't know what you've got till it's gone. Like Declan Hannon was the quarterback, he was the instructor, he was obviously a top class hurler himself. But the way he controlled that 6 area, like you unless he was scoring a point, Declan Hannon was not going past the 65, okay? So the way he controlled 5 and 7, the way he controlled 8 and 9 and 10 and 12. So I think if they are to play that sitting 6 role and you play an Owen Cody or you play a Shane Barrett type, you're asking a lot, or you're asking more of one of the midfielders, or else you're 10 and 12 to be dropping deeper and kind of just suffocate that space out around the middle. Because if 6 goes, what you're left with then is 50 yards of space in front of 3,
no one
which
wants to see
is
that.
not ideal. So I think you're going to see a kind of if it was a sitting 6 role, you see 10 or 12 dropping and 8 or 9 just dropping a bit.
Do they? But can I ask you on that then? And this is a question that I suppose Limerick has been sort of thrown at Limerick to a degree, in that their 10 and 12 for so long have been Tom Marcy and Garrod Hegarty, and like just 2 absolutely incredible players. But do you need a specific type of engine, a specific type of stamina, a specific type of profile to be able to sustain the type of athleticism now that's required to, get back in a defensive shape while also supporting the attack? And do those players still have that ability to do that role?
Yeah, I think Garrod and Tom now, because of everything they've done and they've every box ticked, they probably have gone into maybe one being a starter, one being a finisher.
Yeah.
I probably feel, and maybe the feeling of a lot of hurling people would be, that if you start Garrod and Tom, you're kind of starting 2 players who've done a lot, mightn't be able to stay going to that pace or with that athletic ability that they used to have. And let's be honest, they have a lot of hurling done. So I think that maybe one of them will be the starter and one of them would be a finisher, Rory, whatever way they would do that. But like, to answer your question, I think you need to sacrifice. This is where the team thing comes in. Someone has to sacrifice a lot of their game so that the 6 can stay at 6, and maybe, like Declan Hannon was and like Will O'Donoghue was the other day, be instrumental in the quality of ball going forward and that covering for the full back line. So do you say, right, 11 probably is going to score 3 or 4 points, but you know what? We're not going to concede a goal, and we're going to have a great platform to build on because we've got our 6 sitting. So whoever the 10 or 12 is doing that, or maybe an 8 and 9, they're probably not going to last the 70 minutes either, 74 minutes plus. So that's where the team comes in. Can you get someone to do that for the team? Easier said than done, to be honest now. A lot of us, when we start, we want to finish. So you get someone to say, right, you do whatever you can. And that often was Tom Morrissey, to be honest, come in at 50, 55, no matter how it was going, he was off. So sure, they get a lot of feedback from the GPS. I think the GPS needs to be overlooked. If a guy is absolutely flying it and has 4 or 5 points on the board, I would be leaving him on the field. But I think that's what you need to do in any kind of inter-county, in club level as well now. Most 6s are sitting, and if they go, it gets exploited. And if they don't go, well, then you need someone up the field, sacrifice a bit of their game to kind of curtail 11. But I thought Will O'Donoghue was exceptional at 6. I thought Darragh Corcoran was very good at 6 too for Kilkenny, to be honest. So it's a catch-22, isn't it? Like, if you go, you leave space. If you don't go, they score.
Yeah.
So I think that's how teams are trying to react to it, to be honest.
And what about number 3 then for Kilkenny? Because that's an area that they need to fill with Hugh Lawler not available at the moment. Mikey Carey was back there again yesterday in the full back line. What did you make of that performance?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, I thought Mikey did fine, to be honest. Like, but the way the Limerick lads move or the way they play, like, they normally just play 2 inside and that Roman role. Usually Peter Casey doing that Roman role. So I thought he did okay. Like, I mean, it's just the genius of Gillane, lads, or the best players. Like, they don't have to be involved in a game. Like, it was heard on the TV commentary that Aaron Gillane was quiet or he hadn't touched the ball. And next thing, in the next 2 plays, he gets 1-1. Now, if you're in video analysis work there on the Monday or the Tuesday after that game, and Aaron Gillane doesn't score that goal, and Cathal O'Neill is completely on his own, you're absolutely lambasting him. And you can see Cathal like kind of gesturing, like, you know, give me the ball. But again, it's just the genius of Aaron Gillane. Like, he just absolutely roofed it. I think when you look back at goals of the year, that's going to be in contention.
It is.
And then the next one he gets. But I thought it was brilliant. The lads did brilliant last night, showing Gillane. Gillane, you're trying to tell full forward lines to play deep. Gillane starts his run on the goal line beside the goalkeeper. It's very hard to get that into someone, to have that game awareness, lads, to not start your run on the 14 and be out at the 45 by the time you get it. Aaron Gillane starts his runs usually on the goal line, annoying the goalie, annoying the fullback. Mikey Carey's wondering, will I push on or will I stand beside him? What do I do? So you have to stand beside him. And if you look at Aaron Gillane at his best, lads, he's always looking for it left or right from behind the defender. So the lads out the field know he's pointing left or right. The defender is trying to watch the game, but also watch him. And I think that's where his goal came from, or definitely his point came from anyway. Starts on the goal line, goes out, makes his call from behind the fullback, gestures right into space, and sure, he's so physically strong as well. As I don't think a lot of people know that. He is so physically strong in the air that it's very hard to stop him. So by all his quietness for 80-85% of the game, the man still came out with, I think it was a 1-2 or 1-3. Like, so that's just the class he possesses.
Yeah,
like.
and Peter Casey got 5 from play, I think, as well yesterday.
Yeah, and 1-2 from Gillane, who would ordinarily be on the frees, and look, they found a new free taker as well, and he's another new face that I think it was important from a Limerick perspective for them to find. And I think you kind of have to really put a big asterisk attached to a lot of Limerick's form, given the amount of players that are involved in Fitzgibbon Cup. Like, it is a final now again between the 2 colleges, UL and Mary I, and I know Shane will have a good bit of insight into both teams, and you know the kind of personnel that will be involved. And Limerick have had their preparations for this year's league, I would say, severely enough disrupted. No different than Liam Cahill as well, to be fair. But and Kilkenny and Kilkenny and Offaly, like, obviously because DCU made a semi-final, so they've all had to cope with it. But I think Limerick obviously would, I think, still have the largest proportion and managed really well. I think just Gillane is just like a wine, just gets better with age. And yeah, I think, like, if you look back at, you know, when they were in their pomp winning all those, like, they could afford to play a 2 inside because he was so good. He was so good. You could send in 30, 70 balls that he had no right to win, and he would still come out with it. Because he could win it in the air, he could win it low. His first touch was always sublime. His vision, he's really crafty. He's well able to mix it in a physical sense. Nightmare for full backline to deal with because he can more or less do everything.
Yeah.
And certainly looks back to his best, and I don't necessarily think being off the freeze is any major distraction or hindrance to him either. In fact, it might actually bring even more out of him, you know?
Yeah, and speaking of freeze, Kilkenny had a few bad wides yesterday that they'll regret, but they still have players to come back in. Adrian Mullen, TJ Reid as well, Richie Reid too. We mentioned Offaly briefly there. Adam Screeney was playing for them yesterday. He's been busy on the college front lately as well. But Waterford won it by 6 in the end, 119 to 16 points. That was a big win for them, I guess, to back up, Shane, the big performance the week before. They weren't as impressive yesterday, but they got the job done.
Yeah, they got the job done, and you know what? They're after putting back-to-back wins there now at home. And, like, to be honest, if they want to break this duck and get out of Munster, they're going to have to, without doubt, win their games in Walsh Park. And they've had, you know, really good win against Limerick, good win yesterday, poor quality game With to be said, like, I mean, after the goal went in 115-10, it's more or less game over then. Like, Offaly, as I said before, lads, in fairness to them, like if Brian Dowling's goal goes in there on minute 44, minute 45, I think the game changes. Like, I think it becomes 110 to 12 points. But as soon as Ruben Halloran scored the goal, it kind of was done and dusted. But Offaly are just in a place, Cathal, like, when they're missing the few, they just don't have the same quality to come in. So if one of their top guys goes off, you just don't have the same quality or depth in the panel. Adam Screeney's doing his best. Dan Burke's playing really well. Reckon Cavan is going well. Darragh Fitzgibbon and see Mark Try was back in the goals yesterday. I think Liam Hoare is their best goalie. So it'll be interesting to see that battle for position when it does come down to the goalkeeper. But look, as I said, it's a positive for Waterford. Back-to-back wins, and they're in a good place now after the last two games compared to where they were. Like, they thought maybe the world was over after the Páirc Uí Chaoimh thing.
Yeah.
And Peter Queally said you will get the Ballygunner lads back now. They'll be out in 2 weeks' time, so that'll be a big push on. Cathal Mullaney's getting more game time. Ty de Burka maybe coming back soon. So I think it's definitely looking a lot more positive as a result of the Limerick victory, because they would have targeted this game. Everybody's targeting Offaly as a game they should win in 1A. So they got the job done. They have 4 points on the board. And from Offaly, look, what do you do? They're more or less going to be relegated now, really, like, because of the score difference and everything. So it's a tough one for them, but it's just the nature of the beast, lads, at top level hurling. And you do have to have a really, really strong panel to try and compete in it. Like,
yeah, Offaly are stretched enough at the moment. Just on Waterford, Ruben Halloran 112 yesterday. He's been really consistent from frees, but they're in a pretty good spot, Rory. Like, I mean, they still have guys to come back in, a lot of the Ballygunner lads to come back in.
Yeah, and look, as we know, there's a big break now again. They're out again, obviously, in the next round. But I think, like, there was a lot of, I suppose, doom. There was a lot of doomsayers, and there was a lot of pessimism, I suppose, after the first day out. I think, like, league games at that time of the year, I just think you can't read anything into them. And we saw a little bit more of the fight that they brought the last day against Limerick. Tough now for Offaly yesterday. Pitch obviously was cutting up big time, which is only to be expected, really, given the amount of rain that we've had. Was there 7 yellow cards in the game?
There's quite a few, yeah.
So, like, look, I think from a Waterford perspective, I think it's they've played Cork and Limerick in their first 2 matches. That's as tough a start as you're going to get to any league campaign. I think they'll face in now to the last couple of games with a little bit more pep in their step. They'll have a couple of derbies between Tip and Kilkenny. I think that'll set them up again. By the time they face both of those counties, they're going to have the Ballygunner lads back in situ. As Shane mentioned, Ty de Burka should be back at that stage as well. And I think they, like, look, it's like every year, and getting out of Munster in this Munster round robin, it is going to be a bear pit.
It is just the way that we like to see it. Let's touch on Division 1B, lads, as well. Clare comprehensive winners over Down 335 to 15 points. But probably the story of the weekend, potentially in many ways, is Kildare's win over Antrim. 2 counties with very contrasting fortunes, I guess, now, Shane, after that result.
Unbelievable. And we were just saying beforehand, like, it's some weekend for Brian Dowling. Like, he's building up some CV at the moment as a manager. Like, could I see him as being the Kilkenny senior hurling manager someday? I think he's ticking all the boxes to go there, lads. And maybe a lot of people mightn't know, like, but Brian was a serious player himself, and his career was cut very short because of injury. But that man has a few All-Ireland medals and National League medals and, Leinster medals, as well, mainly 99% of the population of Kilkenny seem to have, like. But Brian was a serious hurler himself. So Saturday he was involved with Kieran, who won the Leinster schools, and then on Sunday goes out and does, guides his team to give that performance. I think he knew that performance was coming, and I think maybe, let's be honest, like, Kildare might have looked at this game to say, this is the one where everybody's going to be right for it. We're going after this. It's at home. All those things said, and this is kind of to say we're good enough to be here. Because there are question marks, like, no more so than there are with Down now. Like, are they good enough to compete at the top level? Right now, they're not. But the experience of this will help them. But I suppose the nature of the beast is you're going to have relegation, and you're going to have 2 teams going down. Like, so that's what these teams want to avoid, just to stay up and get the experience. and try and say, right, that's what top level S&C looks like. That's what high speed hurling looks like. And there's only one way to experience that, lads, and that's to actually play against these players. Because you can watch all the games and you can do all the talks and you can get everybody in, but unless you're actually playing against it, you don't realise how fast the game is. And I think that's like for Kildare to go out, perform like they did, albeit Antrim, they didn't perform. They looked void of a structure, of a game plan, of a way of playing. And they just seemed dejected after it. I think it was emphasised by the red card right at the end. That is just a pure frustration red card. That's not else. That's not someone who's tick with that particular person. That is just, I'm so frustrated with what's happening here today. That's what those red cards are. So brilliant win for Kildare, absolutely brilliant. And the way they took their goals, the way they worked them, they look like the style of play they had last year. They've brought it to another level. Their fitness is good. Their speed of hurling is good. And are they going to win 1B? No. But are they going to ask some questions now from the confidence they'll get of teams they'll play? Definitely. And I just think maybe the worry now for Antrim is, where did we go now? And maybe Davy is, maybe he's feeling, he's taken him so far he can't take him any further. And that's just my honest opinion. Maybe that's the way it is. Maybe that's the way a lot of Antrim hurling people are thinking today, lads. Like, what needs to change? Is it the players? Is it the setup? So probably something. I don't know what it is, but there'll be a lot of hard questions asked to say tomorrow night at training in Antrim.
Yeah, big couple of weeks coming up for them for sure. And Wexford beating Carlow by 228 to 121. The return of Lee Chin, the big news there for Wexford. They finished strongly. That scoreline maybe flatters them a little bit, but Lee Chin back in action for Wexford there. Lads, thanks a million. Great to chat to you again today. We'll be back again with the GA podcast on Thursday, looking ahead to next weekend's Allianz Football League action. But until then,
Possession crucial from this. How much longer will the referee allow? Dublin lead by